And welcome everybody. Don Giannetti, Lighting-Essentials, and dongiannetti.com. This is part of an ongoing series that I call What Makes This Photo Great, and I'm looking at some photographs of different photographers, and this list is the people who have inspired me or that I find inspiration from. So it's not a comprehensive list of great photographers. It is a comprehensive list of the people that I really like. And I'll tell you why I like them, and you can like them if you like. I am looking at a photographer today named Richard Rinaldi. Richard is a photographer out of New York City and shoots portraits on large format cameras. Now, the 8x10 is his camera of choice. Today, if film was still popular, it would be my camera of choice. It is my favorite type of camera, the big view camera, and I like it for an amazing amount of reasons. I love the size of it. I love the slow, deliberate work that it takes to go into shooting it. I have a Deerdorf 4x5, so the back swings from the bottom, and the front standard swings and tilts from the center. So that makes the camera particularly difficult to work with, because when you change the back, you change the distance of the film from the lens, so everything goes south quick. But this rigorous working with a tool that is unforgiving and provides an 8x10 negative or transparency is one of my favorite things. So let's take a look at some photographs by Richard Rinaldi, a great portrait photographer. This first one up here kind of shows you a little bit of the style and also gives you an idea of what the 8x10 camera does. It can isolate our subject here pretty quickly. When you think that an 8x10 camera, the normal lens on the 8x10 is a 300 to 350. Mine is a 350. I have a 350 millimeter lens. Now that is the same 350 millimeters that you would see through your DSLR. So you can see that because it's covering more space, it becomes more of a normal lens on the 300, on the 8x10, and it's a massive telephoto on a 35 millimeter. But the depth of field remains the same. A 300 millimeter is a 300 millimeter. And as you know from shooting your 300 millimeters or even your 200 millimeters, there's not much depth of field when you're in close. Even at f11, there's not much depth of field. So working with that camera right off the bat gives you a very unique way of composing your subjects, because you're always going to be able to work in a soft background with a very sharply delineated subject. And I love this. Now, Richard's compositions are, again, these are people that inspire me, and I then get inspired by them and other people who shoot like this, of course. So I love to compose in the center. You can see Richard Rinaldi likes to compose in the center as well. You could do the rule of thirds on here, I guess. From over here, you got the cars, then you got the gentleman, then you got the cars. Yeah, fine, all that stuff. But it's a center composition, and it's very classic. And all the leading lines go back. It's a very minimalist pose, and you'll see that a lot in his work. Number one, working with a large camera, the subject can't jump around, move around, swing, turn, dance, etc. Just can't do it. They're really going to be stuck in one little spot because if they move, they're going to go out of focus. They're going to move out of the film plane or out of the focus plane, and that's not good. So it's something you're going to see in a lot of his shots. Here's another one. Look at the very casual. This is not pro. He is a portrait photographer, not a fashion photographer. So these are not models or anything. These are just real people. This is a portrait project that he did. There are several projects in this group of images. Rinaldi is a project photographer. He likes shooting images within a project, and we'll talk about a few of the projects that he's got here. So this is a series of portraits around Manhattan. Isn't this great? All these vertical lines, horizontal lines running everywhere, and look how serpentine our subject is here. And sharp against that background. Sharp, sharp, sharp. Here's another one. Look at the position right between the doors. She's standing out from the back. The background is fading from depth of field. It's getting softer. She's just popping out color-wise, everything. It's a very minimalist photograph. It's a very minimalist photograph with a very minimalist camera. That is a challenge to use. So that's what we end up with here. And I don't know if you've ever seen an 8x10 negative, but oh my God, they're glorious. They're just so, so beautiful. I love them. And again, look at the centered composition. Now, they're young people in America, in the USA, I believe. Young people in the USA. And he was traveling around shooting young people. These looks for people who are interesting. It looks for people who are representative. And again, you can see what the 8x10 does. Just throws that background out of focus. Pops our subject right off. And if you could see this print in person, you'd just be amazed at how beautiful it is. So I love the centered composition again, right there, right in the middle. A little bit off to the center, but still pretty much in the center of the frame. Offset by the old house back there and the trees and that track. See that track? That's not there by accident. Because if Rinaldi had not wanted that track there, he could have moved the subject over here or back farther or something. But the track brings what? It brings context to the image. It gives us a sense of place. It adds a little of the human element to it. Beyond just the subject, we get an idea of where he is, what he's doing, the area around. Now that we know it's sand, that we know the more about the location. Everything is so well planned and so deliberate, and yet when you look at it, it doesn't really look that way. Here's another from the Young Americans. Subject on the sidewalk, background just going blotto out of focus, and yet it's not a telephoto lens. That's something that it takes a while to start to see, but you can look at this picture. We're looking down on her feet just a little bit, and we're looking kind of straight across at her chest and straight across at her head. So the camera is about that position. So the camera's looking down on the feet, etc. Right? Okay, but look at the depth of field. If this were a 35 millimeter camera to get this in here, we'd have to be using like a 28 or a 35 millimeter lens to get this up at the face, down on the feet, which means we'd be very close to the subject, which also means the background on a 28, the background at f2.8 is still going to be in focus to that car back there. So we have this very unique look. In digital, some photographers use what's called the Brenziger effect, something like that, where they shoot multiple shots with a normal lens or a slightly wide angle lens, and when they put it all together, you have this super soft background with a subject in the middle, because they're using distance. They come in close, shoot that, shoot that, shoot that, shoot that, shoot that, shoot that, with the depth of field being shallow because of the distance to the subject. Then when you put them all together, it looks like you were standing back farther. But in 8x10 or a 4x5, it's just sort of baked into the camera itself. Another great shot. Notice the red shorts, putting him right up here, leading lines going back. Light's great. He's not in the sunlight, he's in the shade. We can see direct sun back there. I like exactly where he put the picket fence, right through that part of the forehead. So it lets our subject escape that picket fence, so it's not confined. You know, get up a little higher and picture him down with the fence going above him just a little bit. All of a sudden it's like, well, why is the fence there? What's it doing? In this particular situation, he's in front of it. He pops out over the top of it, and it's not confining or debilitating to his movement through the picture. All pictures have movement in them. Got to explore it, find it. Another Young Americans. Simple shot, simple background, some horizontals down here to give it a base, a bottom to sit on, and then, you know, direct right into the camera, centered and very soft shade light. There's probably some light bouncing off a building somewhere, but it's just shade. It's just really lovely. This shot is from a book called Touching Strangers, where he has two people who've never met each other go up and touch each other in a nice way. And this portrait of this gentleman and this young lady taken in New York, and it's a gorgeous portrait, just absolutely gorgeous. Look at the sincerity in their faces. They're enjoying the portrait process. They're enjoying working with this photographer. Some of it, quite honestly, is the camera. When you when I pull out my 8x10 and I'm out on the street with the 8x10, it is a conversation starter. And if I ask to take somebody's picture with my 8x10 camera, I rarely get a no. It's like, oh, this will be too cool. I want to get a picture with this camera. Part of it is the camera, the fascination of working with something that old, you know. Here's another from the Touching Strangers. Notice the composition. This gentleman breaks right in through the white here. This gentleman is standing right in the red vertical column. The flag to this side, the little flowers on the table. It's a contextual picture. We don't know where it is, but we have an idea. We've got design going on in the picture. The three bulbs at the top, the columns of color. There's design, and there's this wonderful connection between the subjects in the picture. Another book that he did was called Fast Food America, where he photographed fast food workers. Here's one shot. You get an idea here really well. That background is super out of focus, but if you look at her and her face, it's not compressed. It's not compressed like it would be on a camera, that 35 millimeter camera a long ways away. It's pretty open, that natural lens feeling. What it's kind of like would be shooting a 50 millimeter f/0.1 lens. So you could really get super shallow depth of field, but with that very normal lens view. Isn't that great? Love the composition, love the eyes. Here's another from Fast Food America. You can see the focus right here on the eye. Do you see that coming right down? And yet the other eye just a little bit out, and the headphones are out. The hair up here is out. The back of the collar is out. It's such a unique look when you're using a camera like that. And it's not an easy camera to use. It has no electronics on it, so the battery never wears out. There's no meter, there's nothing. It's just a camera. But in the hands of an artist like Richard Rinaldi, it becomes a mighty, wonderful tool for making images. Portraits by Richard Rinaldi. I hope you enjoyed this work. I have been following him for quite a while, and I find his work to be very inspirational to me. Richard Rinaldi in New York. There are links down below. You can pick up a book. You can go visit his website. You can read about him. Really fascinating guy. Thanks, everybody. I hope you like what I'm doing with these things. If you do, hit the like button. Okay, I'm not asking you to subscribe, not asking you to hit the bell. God, I hate the bell. But if you like it, just let me know that you like it, and then I can, I can feel good at night. I won't beat up my cat. Well, I don't beat up my cat anyway. But anyway, listen, everybody, have a great one. We'll see you next time. Thanks.